Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Famiboards Discussion Club, a podcast for and by the Famiboards community. Today, we'll be discussing our thoughts on the recent Nintendo Direct, and we'll be diving into some topics put forward by you, our community members. If you would like to get in on the discussion as well, please be sure to swing by this podcast companion thread on Famiboards.com. I'm WestEgg, and I'm once again joined by Irene.
New microphone, yay!
And VolcanicDynamo.
I've been under moss withdrawal for the last 2 weeks. I'm so sad that there's not more yet. I need more, but playing Mario games for the past 2 months certainly has helped me cope.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The contest just ended. That was, by the way, that was a pretty good time. I didn't quite get the All-Star Player badge, but I did enjoy playing through like the first 3 games or so.
I'm really glad you had fun, and I'm glad that a lot of the other members had fun too. If you join the website Famiboards, periodically we do events like that where you get badges for playing games. So if you're interested, another reason to join the discussion.
All right, so today I want to open up with a question we had from one of our community members, and our first one comes from Bellydrum. You all probably remember Bellydrum.
Of course.
Yep.
Never
And
heard
he
of him.
says, well, that's fair. Hey, y'all, long-time listener, first-time asker. What game or games do you think the Switch 2 will launch with, and what games are you looking forward to the most that can exist thanks to the Switch 2's power?
3D Mario.
So,
3D Mario.
3D Mario.
3D Mario.
Absolutely 3D Mario is 3D Mario is absolutely being held back for the Switch 2. I'm certain of it.
It would make sense. Like, Odyssey was a launch window, like launch year game, not a launch game, but within that period, it was like one of the, if I recall, it was shown off in the like NXTs, like the Switch launch, or not the
Yeah.
Switch launch, the like Switch reveal trailer. It was one of the games that like wasn't titled, but you saw like Mario running through like the Sand Kingdom.
Yeah, that's a really interesting endless runner that they showed over there.
Yeah.
I don't know why people were saying that. But yeah, we got that early glimpse, and then we got the other reveal trailers, and then it came out, holiday. So I expect a similar thing to happen. If the Switch 2 comes out in the holiday, 3D Mario. If it launches earlier in the year, like when we'll talk about this when we get to the Direct, then I could see that just being the holiday game, like a few months after launch.
And we're
Yeah.
not getting any 3D Mario. We are getting Galaxy 3.
Galaxy 3, I like it.
Look, if they let Rosalina star as the main character in Galaxy 3, I'll allow it.
Woohoo! That would be so cool.
I would love that. I would love playable Rosalina. Anything they could do along that line. I'm gonna go with kind of a boring answer for what I think it will launch with, because I had alluded to this in the last podcast, but I really do think they're going to pull a Twilight Princess Breath of the Wild with Metroid Prime 4, and have that either be the launch title or a cross-gen title.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think that would be a great way to show off, like, the power of the Switch 2. Especially since Prime Remastered was already pretty visually impressive. So to say, hey, here's what you can do on Switch 2. Look at this better performance. Look at this better lighting. Look at all of this extra stuff we could have with this version. I think that could, like, really turn some heads.
Yeah, I think they need kind of that more like hardcore crowd pleaser with the launch, because you have to have like your general more fun accessible games, and then you have to have kind of that. It's what like Twilight Princess was to Wii Sports, where you had that kind of dynamic of the like accessible launch game and the like crowd pleasing one. I think they're gonna try and have Prime 4 be that for the launch.
Yeah, I don't think that they are going to like. I don't think that. I still think that Switch 2 is gonna launch with some kind of like lighter, more, to use the term, casual appealing game. Because right now the Switch 2 talk is like very hardcore stuff in a way, that it's mostly being talked in circles about people who are interested in hardware, people like Digital Foundry, and people who are like more into tech stuff when it comes to games, and obviously like hardcore Nintendo fans are talking about these like big hitters like Prime 4 and 3D Mario and Monkey PD and stuff like that. But I still think that even though it's beefed up considerably, Switch 2, we will not see the end of like we will not see the end of games that aren't necessarily like hardware pushers. So they will still have those sports games and stuff.
Yeah.
So speaking of sports games, I think this is going to be probably something that only I'll bring up for the sake of this discussion, and I'll probably still be in the minority on Famiboards in general. But higher power for the Switch 2 will probably be more friendly towards third parties, and I'm hoping to see the return of the college football video game is already coming back next year, and I really want to see that on Switch 2. I'm like a big fan of college sports. I'll be really excited if that happens.
That'd be nice. It's pretty frustrating how EA has sort of stiffed the Switch for so many years with its with their soccer games. You know, how many legacy editions of FIFA did we have to have before? You know, now that they dropped the FIFA name, we're finally getting one that's vaguely not just a legacy edition. I really hope that now that there's extra power, there's the extra power in the system. Like, okay, there's no excuse. Just make the ports. Just do it. It'll sell a bunch of money. It'll sell a bunch of copies. It'll make a bunch of money. Just do it.
I mean, EA did put like their sports games on like the GameCube, and that was the last time the Nintendo had like power parity with the other systems. So now that they're at least potentially approaching that with the Switch 2, I'm kind of hoping that comes back.
Mm-hmm. And before we move on, just very quick, I do agree with Irene that there's definitely going to be at least one smaller scale, more quote-unquote casual game. I'm hoping it's something more along the lines of like a Snipperclips or something, but realistically, I'm expecting something like a Wii Sports on a positive note, or a 1-2 Switch on a note. So we'll see. Hopefully we're going more in that Snipperclips Wii Sports direction.
I mean, early Switch was kind of a magical time where certain games that should not have been big or, like, gotten a lot of attention did, just because there weren't many games out. So Snipperclips is one, and then, like, there were games like Snake Pass, and just other things that, like, probably wouldn't get the time of day if it were, like, shown in, like, this recent Direct, but just were, like, really cool holdover games. It'd be cool to see that come back.
For sure.
And another thing when it comes to, like, what Switch 2 will launch with, and what games I'm looking forward to the most thanks to the Switch's power. I also would like to see if I'm playing with the thought that Monkey EPD is real, the EPD Tokyo Donkey Kong game, and 3D Mario also being real, and have them launch with Switch 2 simultaneously. Ooh. That would be cool. And I'm also dying to see Donkey Kong's 4K fur.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
I love me some fur K.
Fur K.
All right, on that note, we do have Direct to discuss, so I'll kind of we kind of prepared just a list of all the games we're going to run down through.
Yeah.
And the first game that they showed off to open it was Splatoon 3 Side Order, which is the like new DLC for Splatoon 3. And this one, it looked very interesting, had a very like techno-futuristic theme, and seemed to be presenting kind of a roguelite playstyle from what we could see.
Yeah, visually, it's a great way to incorporate the order side of that Splatoon 2 Order versus Chaos Splatfest. Great callback to that kind of thing. And I think the idea of having a more roguelike progression in a Splatoon is very different from what we've already gotten, and that makes the DLC very interesting. Like, I love Octo Expansion, was great, but obviously that was just like a harder single-player campaign. It was great. But I think now that the actual campaign we got is more like the original Octo Expansion, having this sort of very alternate kind of gameplay style where you're slowly buffing yourself up, doing potentially these different runs with these big enemy hordes, is a really interesting change of pace. And I'm really digging it, and I'm really can't wait for it to launch.
I'm wondering if, because, yeah, like you'd mentioned, it was very Order themed, which obviously does call back to the Order versus Chaos Splatfest. And I'm wondering if they had, like, started work on different scenarios based off of who won that Splatfest, and then they kind of developed the Chaos one into the main story, and then saved the Order for the DLC, and if, like, in the alternate timeline where Order had won, it would have been reversed.
Yeah, I could definitely see them, like, at least having that as part of the pre-production. Like, oh, okay, if Order wins, this is going to be the direction for the campaign, and then if we do DLC, we'll bring in this, or, oh, if Chaos won, so we'll do this sort of theming for the world, and then the DLC will be themed after this. I don't know how deep it would have been beyond just the thematics as opposed to the actual, like, structure of the game, but I could definitely see that being, like, something they were thinking about when they were developing the game.
It looked very interesting, though, as far as the game itself, because obviously you had the menus where you could select your abilities from what it looked like, and then there were numbers attached to enemy damage, which is very bizarre for Splatoon. So it's just got a very different vibe than what we've seen so far.
The differences in the vibe just really helps it feel like, oh yeah, this is a very novel, unique, different kind of experience from the base game. And I think that's going to be really to the campaign's benefit. So I'm really excited to sort of see that. And, you know, sometimes I also just like seeing number go up. Ha ha, hee hee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually missed that part of the direct entirely because I was a bit stressed out because I was like, at the same time, like 15 minutes before the direct was started, I was in the leak thread, in the not leak thread, I was moderating, I was throwing together my bingo card, and I was eating a sandwich like 50 minutes before the direct. And when I was done with all that, it was like a few minutes like left, and I had to set up my second computer to watch on the big screen. And when that was done, I only saw like a brief that okay, that was Splatoon side order. Then Shinya Takahashi appeared, so I actually missed that. But I'm still excited for it. I don't own Splatoon 3, but I actually have Octo expansion on my backlog because I have the expansion pass. But I just like the idea of like the general idea of Splatoon, like bonus content or side content, because it's such a cool world, such cool like concept, and such a cool lore to build something extra beyond the multiplayer matches. So I think side order is gonna turn out to be something truly fantastic.
Agreed. Couple more notes from me before I'm ready to move on. One, being there was a character who was in the lore of the Octo expansion. Supposedly they were the ones who like made all the music, because all of the music in Splatoon is like made in universe. And that was a Deadfish. It's really cool to see that character being brought back for side order, and I imagine that the Splatoon fans are going to be popping off very hard. I know I was popping off very hard when I saw her in the elevator. So that's one. Two, I'm so glad to see Pearl and Marina back. I hope they get married.
I do like Pearl and Marina quite a bit.
And three, the very last shot at the end with sort of the almost sort of like the weird like kind of colored strands within that really dark background. I have no idea what that means, but it looks really interesting.
I think they're like neurons. That's kind of the impression I was getting.
Yeah, like something internal like that. Very fascinated. Can't wait to hear more.
All right, so the next game that they showed off was Mario vs. Donkey Kong. So this is a remake of the Game Boy Advance Mario vs. Donkey Kong, which kind of started like a whole series through the DS and Wii era. But I don't think I've actually played much of this game, and I am kind of looking forward to it. I know it was more a spiritual successor to Donkey Kong 94 than kind of with the later games, which are more Lemming-like. But have either of you played the older game?
I have. I never finished it because I was not very good at it. But yeah, it is very much more in the vein of DK94. Most of the mechanics of the player mechanics are identical. So all the same acrobatic moves you can pull off, all that stuff from DK94, that's all here in Mario vs. Donkey Kong. And Mario vs. Donkey Kong changed direction very quickly after this entry. You know, as you mentioned, you know, going in that sort of more Lemmings-inspired design. And while I don't mind those entries, they definitely did a lot of very similar games, and I kind of missed seeing this style. So it was interesting to see this come back, though in truth, I was not expecting this game to be a straight-up remake. I was, if there was going to be a new entry like this, I mean, I was just doing like, okay, there's going to be a new Mario vs. Donkey Kong. It's going to be like that. Or even that they were just going to do the Lemmings game again. But no, it's a full remake of the GBA game.
Yeah. I kind of like the more just compact, puzzly presentation of it. I do think I'm going to enjoy it when I play it, but I don't really have much else to say other than it looks nice.
Yeah, it looks pretty nice, yeah.
Yeah, very visually impressive. And we were talking about it earlier. I'm looking at the pre-rendered videos in the cutscenes. Donkey Kong's fur is looking really nice.
Yeah, bring on that fur.
I guess the only things I have to say about it beyond this are I think the fact that there's a co-op in the game, like they added like Toad as a second playable character, I think that already just enhances the appeal for me as someone who owns the original release. It's like, okay, I actually have a meaningful reason to want to play this. Like me and my partner could play this one together and, try to solve all the puzzles and like really get it. And maybe we'll actually beat it because I never beat it myself. So I think that'd be cool. So that's like one thing I think that's really cool.
Why is Toad the playable character and not Luigi for the...
I mean, maybe
I don't know, that's just weird to me.
Maybe it's because Luigi wasn't in the original, but there were several Toads in the original game. Like, they're the ones who work at the the Mario toy company making the mini Marios, so they're like, okay, we'll put Toad in, sort of, is like, and we'll sort of be like, okay, yeah, we'll put Toad in because Toads already exist in this, and they already probably made the models for the cutscenes, or they're reusing models for that. So maybe they just thought, hey, let's just do that instead of trying to incorporate Luigi, who wasn't in the original at all.
Okay, fair enough.
That's maybe my thought on that. The only other thing that I have that might be worth mentioning to me is that this game is not using the new Mario voice actor. It is using old Charles Martinet clips. And I think this isn't a weird or bad thing in the sense that this probably means that for the cutscenes, they'll probably use higher quality recordings of the original game's Martinet clips, and Martinet had some really fun spoken clips in this game that until now have been like completely low quality. So if that's the idea, like, oh, this is a remake, we're going to reuse those old clips and we'll use some other Martinet stuff as sort of filler if we wanted to add more, I think that makes a lot of sense. Not have any like incongruity with the old materials by not adding like new material.
Okay. So after Mario vs. Donkey Kong was shown, they showed kind of 3 games in quick succession, which were a little more low-key. It was Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Super Crazy Rhythm Castle, and Spy X Enya: Operation Memories. Those, I mean, every direct kind of has like that section where it's like the less exciting announcement, but did any of those catch your eye?
As a huge fan of Spy Families, obviously the Spy Family game caught my eye. But it didn't do much more. It just caught my eye because Anya is a pretty cool character.
I was kind of curious because I know Spy Family. I haven't watched or read it, but I know like it's kind of got this darker tone to it or whatever, like more like it's like a lot about the parents and stuff. So I'm wondering if this game is kind of like a bait and switch where it's more subversive than it appears to, which because it kind of looks like Boku no Natsuyasumi or something, like some kind of like casual slice of life game from her perspective. So I don't know if it's going to have like a weird undercurrent, or maybe it doesn't, but like there's hints of it for people who are familiar with the source.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Okay.
I still think that the new Prince of Persia game looks really impressive, really engaging. There's not much more to say about it than what has already been discussed in the past, because this trailer didn't really like show that much new, if I recall correctly. But like that it's targeting the Switch as its main platform, so it's going to perform well and it's going to look great there. So maybe that'll be a game I get using like that Best Buy buy 2 get 1 free deal for Best Buy Plus. Again, this is not a sponsored segment. I just like the deal.
I've never played a Prince of Persia game. I do generally enjoy like 2D platformers though, so depending on like what people are talking and like say about it, I might look into it. So after those three games, they showed off Super Mario RPG again, and there were a few like UI things people noticed in the reveal trailer, but they went more into depth here. Where if you do like perfect hits, you can do splash damage to the other enemies who are on the screen, which wasn't present in the original. And also, there's new triple attacks, which seem to do a lot of damage, and that seems to me to indicate they're going to be changing the balance of the game slightly, because obviously that's just like extra damage thrown on top of whatever was originally there. The game wasn't too hard to begin with, so I'm gonna guess they're gonna rebalance some other things.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of have to, otherwise the game will just end up feeling too easy. And again, it's like you said, it's not that the original was like a very difficult game in the first place, but they definitely are doing things that are perhaps making this a little more approachable, a little easier to sort of follow. And I don't mind that strictly, especially since the other big thing that they revealed is that in the post game they're going to be adding. Well, first off, this game has a post game now, and they're going to have harder boss rematches. So that I think they could like really like pull some of the extra challenge there, if that's sort of the idea. Oh, well, maybe we'll make the campaign a little easier, or we'll treat the campaign to better fit this sort of tone, but we'll give you a lot of stuff to play with afterward to give you more of a challenge so the hardcore fans still get satisfied. I think that's like a pretty good mixture. Also, I think those like those triple move cutscenes, they all look really fun and really charming. So, hell yeah.
So, speaking of the like boss rematches they showed, which they all appear to be significantly harder, and when I played Mario RPG, I think I did hit the level cap. So those, I'm interested to see how like it how difficult those are. But a thought I had, Mario RPG has a very famous bonus boss in it, which I won't get into details other than saying it's very much a Square Enix callback. But I'm wondering for the rematch with that boss, assuming it's in the game, if they might go like even further in that direction. Like I've heard some people say they may just like straight up drop like Sephiroth into the game or something. And that would be hilarious if they did that, especially if it was like saved for the rematch.
Yeah. They're clearly alluding to that bonus boss. There's one clip that alludes to you opening the door to reach that bonus boss, but they're definitely still keeping that boss a secret. So I'm very curious to see if they do try to like fatefully replicate the boss. Or if they decide to do something new. All I know is that I'm very much looking forward to hearing whatever music they play during that boss. Again, not going to spoil for those who don't know, but it's a very fun treat.
I was so happy when they started that whole section and they played Booster's theme, which is the best song in the game and one of the best Mario songs in general.
God, I can't wait to hear this Shimomura soundtrack remixed. Oh, it's going to sound so good.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this game. So, after Mario RPG, they showed another code to Memories and Recollection. I don't know much about this game, but it did seem to be kind of like a sleeper hype announcement. Like, a lot of people were excited about it.
It was a dream come true. Huge dream come true. Yes. Yes, it was... if I recall correctly... I had, before directs, we make our like dream direct like setup, or where people say, "Oh, direct starts. Oh, Koizumi appears. Oh, this and this is this and this and this game comes out or gets announced." And I had another code on it. I think like way back on the Nintendo Threads on Era. I think I had another code there, so it was really cool to see like this game that I had like low-key hoped would get announced and get a remake or a new release, a new installment. Mm-hmm. And I low-key hoped for it in like several years ago and sort of like gave up hope, and all of a sudden it's happening, and it's there, and it looks gorgeous. It looks fantastic. And the thing is that I'm super hyped about it because I actually didn't play very much of the first DS game. I think my ex had it on their DS, and I just played. I remember playing like a little bit of it and loving it, and really like falling for the concept pretty hard and the characters and the story. and this was like a decade plus ago, and ever since that initial play memory or like play session, the game has always come back to me once every now and then. I think about it. It was like, this very, very cool game I played back in high school. It would be amazing to see it come back in some way or form, so I can like really. So it's a game I'm a huge fan of, despite not having played much of it. Because sometimes you have those kind of games where you played a little bit, but you're still a huge fan of it because the little bit you played was amazing. I'm really feeling that with Another Code, and it looks really, really good. It looks like it's gonna keep that low-key investigative vibe with this like really intriguing story, and I can't wait. I can't wait.
It looks very interesting to me. I've heard people describe at least their impression of it as kind of being Resident Evil-like, but more about the puzzles of like in those games, like in the exploration rather than the combat, like more classic Resident Evil, I should say. Is that kind of how the gameplay flows?
Yeah, it's. I don't know if it has like straight up quote unquote combat, but it has the vibe of exploring and solving like light environmental puzzles. Like I got a bit of a like Resident Evil and mix it with like Myst in a way. Has I don't know if you're on island on Myst, but you're low-key investigative environmental puzzle solving. Again, I don't know too much about it because I didn't play much beyond the initial opening back in high school. So I can't say too much about it, but definitely, categorically, it's like through and through, like investigation game and puzzle game.
Okay, awesome.
It's very awesome.
So the one of the bigger games they announced, and they had previously shown it off, but they titled, was the Princess Peach Showtime game, and it looks pretty good.
Oh, it looks so good.
Yeah, great.
I had an observation when I was watching the trailer. I didn't catch it during the initial direct, but I did catch it on a rewatch. And that was like when it shows the opening cutscene with like Peach and the Toads, and they're like, we're gonna go to the theater and do the stuff. She has her crown, but like after whatever stuff happens, she's missing her crown. And I'm wondering how that's actually going to play into the game. Like obviously it facilitates like costume changes and stuff, which seems to be a big aspect of it. But I am wondering if there's going to be like that element where there's something tied to specifically to her crown being stolen.
Yeah, I could definitely see something like that happening. I'll force her to put on new hats. In other words, play new roles other than just that of princess, which is really what the game is all about and is one of the most exciting aspects of the game. The different costumes that she can put on and the sort of play and the sort of focus of things oriented around this concept of different plays, different fantasies that Peach gets to inhabit.
It's very It's very much set up to be a variety game from the looks of it. The Sword Fighter Peach segment seemed to be kind of a straightforward side-scrolling like sword fighting game, but then Detective Peach looked like it might be more in the lieu of obviously a detective game. And then the what was it? The like pastry chef Peach. It was a different term, but that
It was like patisserie or something.
Yes.
Yeah. It was like cake decoration and stuff, and that seemed to be more like kind of like a Mario Party mini game. And so it does look like the game's going to have a ton of variety.
Yeah. It does seem that there is at least some core gameplay where it's an action-adventure game, you're exploring, you're using that ribbon attack in order to interact with the environment and do stuff. And then there are some modes and some costumes that, like, push that concept and sort of go more straightforward with it, like the more action-oriented costumes where, okay, you're doing kung fu attacks or you're doing sword attacks, and it's sort of like a more fast-paced version of that. But also mixing in the more slower-paced stuff where you're doing, where you're a detective and you're trying to do some investigations, or the aforementioned patisserie stuff. I think it does a really interesting job of still, like, fitting the thematic core and the concept they have of, oh, look at this chaos in these different plays, but also being like, hey, let's throw in a bunch of variety, a bunch of, like, cool gimmicks and ideas at the player to really expand on it. And I think it's particularly cool because when it comes to like Princess Peach, right? Oh, like she typically isn't allowed to like have that kind of range, you know? Because, oh, yeah, she's the princess. And, yeah, sometimes, she'll be playable in the platformer here and there, or she'll be playable in, like, the spin-offs, and, she has the sort of regal, demure kind of characterization. And that's not to say that that isn't here, and it definitely is, but I think we are getting, like, a really good range of fantasies for this character to inhabit, ranging from more cool, action-oriented ones to, more slower-paced and, a good blend of, like, things that could be considered, quote-unquote, masculine and feminine. She doesn't feel limited. Maybe it's the Barbie movie on my mind, but it kind of almost reminds me of that, where Barbie is allowed to inhabit all of these sort of different things. Oh, Barbie's an astronaut, Barbie's a doctor, Barbie's a lawyer, Barbie's a teacher. Barbie gets to do all of these things, and it's not like she's limited by anything. She can be anything. So it's kind of cool to see this sort of Peach game where, yeah, she can be a lot of different things in it, that being like a big part of the fun.
So in that vein, we did have a couple of questions about this game from the community, and Meatbag had asked, is what outfit or an associated gameplay mechanics do you want Peach to wear in the game?
Hip-hop Peach.
Okay.
Hip-hop Peach, and make the game this sort of like improv rap section.
Oh, it'd be like for Rap of the Rapper.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Exactly. And have her like just drop some kick-ass rhymes, and I don't know, I don't know, I haven't played Parappa the Rapper, but something, just make it a hip-hop like rhythm game, but with words also, where you have to like shows different rhymes and try to assemble together some really cool hip-hop like chorus, and when you do it, all the toads will come and they will cheer on you. And when they're cheering on you, you get like extra coins that you can use in the game's economy system, and just like move on to the next part of the adventure. But yeah, I Hip-hop Peach would be cool.
I like it. I've got an answer that initially I was going to give it as a joke answer, and it kind of is, but I've developed it in my mind to a point where I'd still like to see it. And that would be Surgeon Peach, and the gameplay would be like Trauma Center. Because like they have like all these setups where it's just like the other things have been stolen in your Detective Peach and you have to do this or other things. So I'm just imagining the scenario. It's where like like the Sour Bunch have had a terrible accident. In order to interrogate them, you have to cure them first, and you have to like remove you have to like heal their wounds and do the surgery and stuff.
I mean, I guess Dr. Peach is technically canon, so we could always bring that back.
This is specifically Surgeon Peach.
Just put on a surgical mask on her. There you go. It's fine.
Did you have any dream outfit?
Honestly, I was trying to think about it, and it's actually a bit of a tricky question, because originally I was like, oh, maybe we do like Pirate Peach, and we sort of like, something like sort of that, but seafaring, sail the high seas. But honestly, that kind of already overlaps with the game's existing Sword Fighter Peach. So I'm not sure if that would be the direction I go. Maybe something like, if you want to do something that's sort of unique, you could do more, maybe like a sort of a Western themed superhero kind of Peach, with the focus of the stage being about trying to use your superpowers to go and save people. Using, say, a quick speed or other powers, to sort of differentiate it from the more combat-oriented sort of sword fighter and kung fu, while still allowing for a combat scenario if you wanted to do it. I think that could be like a fun twist on the concept.
Yeah, there's so many, there's so much they can do with this idea of almost like Kirby on steroids, sort of.
Yeah, that's a comparison I've heard a lot of. So we did have a question from Deco Returns about this game, saying, will Princess Peach Showtime be a surprise big seller? I would put the floor of this game at like 2 million, which would be still a decent turnaround, but I could see this going much bigger. Like maybe like 5 or 6, depending on just how good the game itself ends up being. I don't think it was revealed who the developer is, but it looked very next level games to me.
Yeah, we have absolutely no idea. My gut feeling is next level games. Because hey, Nintendo Software Technologies is busy. What was it? Intelligent Systems is very busy, as we'll talk about in a little bit. And maybe this could theoretically be EPD, one of EPD's games, and Monk EPD doesn't exist, but I kind of have my doubts with how things are animated. Though I did notice that the castle exterior in the intro is very much based off of the Odyssey one, so that was kind of cool. But I think what I hope in my heart of hearts is that Princess Peach Showtime is sort of like a Luigi's Mansion 2 and 3 tiered like level hit, where it ends up just selling like around 10 million units just because people really like what the game is trying to do and what it ends up doing. And yeah, and also another dub for next level games. But I think this will at least sell a few million. Mario stuff has been really big. The Mario brand has been in its biggest upswing in a while. Not only they're releasing a ton of Mario stuff, there's momentum from the Mario movie. Mario Wonder's going to come out. It's going to feature Peach. I'm like, oh, you want more Peach? Here's a game that's all Peach, So I think this has the potential to do really well. Like, I don't think this is going to be like a Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Odyssey, like 20-30 million seller. Because it is still a Mario spin-off. But I think, like, high-end, we might be able, I could see this potentially, if this really resonates with people, that this could be, like, a surprise, like, 10 million seller. And, hey, if people buy Peach game, and it means that we get more Peach game in this sort of vein, I'm all for it. I would love to see more.
I think people have also been, like, eager and expecting for a new Peach game in the way that people have maybe never been expecting for like other characters. Like, I think that Peach is more overdue for this huge bang cool pop game that will be her like breakout success, because I'm thinking about both Captain Toad and Luigi's Mansion, where Luigi's Mansion was a bit unexpected at the time. It was like, oh, that other guy is getting a game. Mm-hmm. And Captain Toad was like, yeah, this is very cool, but something that wasn't really on people's radar. But I've seen a lot of like asking for a proper Peach game, because people bring up Super Princess Peach, and it had its issues. It wasn't really satisfactory for many people, and it's been so long. She has just a distance in years between Peach being introduced as a member of the Mario universe to today, where Peach is getting this wonderful breakout new fantastic game. It's a huge long time, and I've seen a lot of people over the years that has been yearning for a Peach game like this. So I think that I'm also thinking like a few million. I don't dare to say how many million, but I think it would be I could say yes, it could surprise us with because I really, just based on my hobby analytics, I really think that this game has been a long time coming, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely agreed.
Yeah, to take things back to sort of one of my earliest points, because, Irene really made me think about it. One of the things that I found kind of weak about the original Super Princess Peach is that, it was very stereotypical. Like, this was the first game to star Princess Peach as the main character, and they ended up going for something that was really like, oh, it's emotion-based powers, an emotion-based theme. Like, oh yeah, okay, so that's what the girl character is going to get. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the game itself was bad. I've played the game through twice. I've enjoyed it, but it definitely is sort of marred by that reputation for a reason. Like, it is kind of a stereotypical choice, especially when it's not like there was a lot of other, like, it's not like Daisy was also there and getting her own thing, or Rosalina didn't exist at this point. So, like, when you have this being, like, the one representation of, like, of like the women in our Mario games, then it's like, okay, like we could have done better here. You could have came up with a better thing. So to see this new Peach game and the whole concept of it being like, oh yeah, it is still very much Peach's game in the way that Luigi's Mansion was Luigi's game. It's distinct from the Mario platformers. It's its own thing. And also it's like oh yeah, Peach, she has range. She can do all these different fantasies. She could be cool, she could be cute, she can be action oriented, she could be slower paced detective, inquisitive, and have all of that and play all these different roles. I think there's something that's really exciting about that, and also just to show us that yeah, this character can have this range. This character can do all these things and have all of that fun. And I think that's just is one of the things that gets me excited the most. And I think from all the fan art I've seen of like Sword Fighter Peach and Patisserie Peach and everyone else, I think it's resonating with at least some audience. And I can't wait to see that audience served. And I can't wait to see me served because I love Mario stuff. So thank you, Nintendo.
All right, fair enough. So after they demoed Princess Peach, they had kind of like another run of just games that weren't as exciting. So we had Saga Emerald Beyond, Tomb Raider 1, 2, 3 Remastered, Detective Pikachu Returns, Trombone Champ, Battle Crush, War Tales, and Contra Operation Gulaga. Did any of those catch your eyes at all?
Okay, so Trombone Champ did, because I already knew about the PC release and all the memes surrounding it. Like, it's very, very funny. But I actually want to talk about it on, like, just a technical perspective, because I think, like, the adaptations they're doing with the controls are just really novel, having both the more traditional motion control gameplay as well as the IR camera. I'm really curious to try for myself. I've been busy with other games, but I'm definitely going to buy the port, and I want to like see how it controls for myself because that's really cool. The other game that caught my eye during this moment was the Contra port for good and for it was not the port, the new Contra game for good and for bad. Good because it's being developed by WayForward. They did Contra 4. Contra 4 is pretty good, but also that frame rate was really choppy, and I hope that they can address that before the game comes out. Or maybe the Switch 2's processing power will be able to brute force it. I don't know, but leaves me with a little bit of pause on that one.
Okay, that fair enough. And then the only thing I really had to say about these games, I mean, yes, Detective Pikachu still exists, and Tomb Raider 1, 2, 3. A lot of people have pointed this out, but it is hilarious how like the remastered is just like only slightly better than the original graphics.
I'm glad we at least still have the option for the original graphics because the new graphics they exist.
Yeah, I agree, but it's just like if you're going to play in that like much of a retro look anyway, you might as well just play with the original graphics and like have the original intent and whatnot.
Yeah. Anything catch your eye, Irene?
Between these games, not really. I think the Saga game looked cool. Always been curious about the Saga franchise, so this might be something I would look into. But I agree with the Tomb Raider. You were talking about Tomb Raider, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I always forget if Detective Pikachu Returns is a new game or a remaster. To be honest.
Oh, this one's actually new. But
okay. But yeah, Tomb Raider's updated graphics looked a bit off to me, and I agree that then you might as well just do the intended graphical mode.
So something I imagine you are fairly excited for was Unicorn Overlord.
Unicorn Overload was the biggest disappointment of the Direct by far.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay, hear me out.
Okay.
This is my Unicorn Overlord rant. Okay. So, this game is composed by Keiichi Okabe, which is the composer for Nier.
Uh-huh.
And I'm a huge Nier fan.
Uh-huh.
And I can hear it the first second. I was like, this is Keiichi Okabe's music because it's the exact. I mean, I don't know if most people know of it but in Nier Replicant, when Kaine enters the tree and encounters the administrators, they play this song, and it's very similar to the song playing in Unicorn Overlord. Almost precisely the first few chord progressions. So I was like, this is Nier. Oh my god! And then it turns out it's this medieval setting, and it reminded me of like Voice of Cards, the Yoko Taro games. I was like, this is Nier, but it's medieval style. Is this some kind of Voice of Cards / Nier crossover? So I'm like hyped up in the beginning, right? And I look through the trailer, and the more I see, the less interested I become, because I think the setting wasn't very cool. I think the game looked messy, like it tried to do too much things at once. It was like, oh, here's battles, oh, here's towns, oh, here's strategy, oh, here's turn-based, oh, here's resource gathering. It's just things were flying all over the place, and the battle system just looked like way too complicated. Okay, to the benefit of the doubt to the combat, because 13 Sentinels also had complicated looking combat that is awesome. So maybe the combat in this game would be awesome as well. I can give it that it might surprise, but I just wasn't into it at all. And it is fine if you see something in a direct that you're not into. It's just like every direct has these like mid-sized games that can go into one ear and out of the other, and so that's fine. But then when it comes up that is Vanillaware, that's when I feel like you have, I don't know if many people, maybe some people can relate to this feeling that it's one thing to see something that is like, oh, this doesn't look very good, but it's also seeing a thing that, this doesn't look very good, but it's made by one of my favorite developers of all time. It becomes this different level where it becomes maybe like even more disappointing, because like I was like, this is a pretty like mid-looking game to me, and it's made by this some kind of disconnect where I should be more excited about a Vanillaware game than I actually am. So I was very deflated by Unicorn Overlord.
Oh, I'm actually shocked. I figured you were going to be the one that was like really talking this game up. Because again, like it had like the Nier sting at the beginning, and it was Vanillaware, and like it looked like a lot of different medieval games. But like I figured this would be your game of the direct, so that was a bit of a swerve for me.
Yeah, I'm full of surprises, so to speak.
Fair enough.
But the art, I was not very much into the setting. It looked a bit like run-of-the-mill medieval stuff to me. But of course, the art itself, like the graphically side of it, and the art direction in and of itself, regardless of the setting, that looked incredible, as is expected from Vanillaware. What did you think of it?
It's one of those, like, kind of like what 13 Sentinels was for me, where I wasn't initially interested, and it's one of those things where I'm going to have to, like, kind of see the discussion around it to determine if I want to play it, like, once it comes out. Which, I mean, granted, I really did enjoying 13 Sentinels, so that's not a bad system, but I didn't really, I honestly don't even remember most of what I saw other than it was Vanillaware.
Yeah, it was very, like, lots of things happening at once, and it was hard to keep up. And I've watched the trailer multiple times now, if only for the kick-ass music, but it was very hard to grasp for me personally. But I am still, with all of this being said, all the disappointment I'm feeling, just with like, I am ready still to give the benefit of the doubt, because some games can surprise you after their initial showing.
That's fair. So after that, they had showed Luigi's Mansion 2, and all I really have to say about it is it sure is Luigi's Mansion 2.
They're finally correcting the most egregious error of the North American version, and that was calling it Dark Moon instead of just calling it 2. Now it's just 2 in every region, as it should be. Thank you.
Which is weird. It's weird because normally it's like the PAL release that goes against like whatever normal conventions. But yeah, I do like that it's just for continuity's sake, it's Luigi's Mansion 2. Like, that's... I think they had to do that because if they had just kept it Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, people would have like gone into it with the expectation that it was like a sequel to 3, and it obviously doesn't have that scope.
Yeah. Though on that note, we see almost the exact same kind of thing with another code. That game in North America was Trace Memory, and then we never even got the sequel here in the States. So now, we're going by the European name, which I think is closer to the Japanese name as well. Another code. So yeah, let's get that sort of a global naming scheme for all of these things to the best of we can. I think that's a good thing for some games like this.
Yeah, definitely. And then after that, they did like kind of a weird update on the Nintendo Museum, or what it was called something else previously, but that's how they presented that. And it's just like, okay, I want to go there at some point.
Yeah. Really weird way to unveil the Switch 2 was building size. I'm not sure about that one. But no, I think I wasn't expecting anything in regards to that. It was kind of a weird announcement, but yeah, I would want to go. I did go to Japan earlier this year, and it was a great trip, and I was in the Osaka area, so that's not too far from Kyoto. So if I go back, maybe maybe sometime in the summer, if I have the money, I would love to dedicate some time to go to the museum, because reportedly it's going to be finished by March, and that would be, that means it'd be open for a few months, and it'll be cool. But otherwise, weird announcement.
So a thing though that did catch me with that announcement, they did straight up call it a question block instead of a question mark block, which has been a point of contention for a while.
Yeah.
So we now have as close to a primary source confirming that naming convention as we can get.
Yeah, I think. Oh, it just seemed that there are a couple of other things that yet use the question block term, at least more recently. Apparently a minigame in Mario Party the Top 100 uses that term. I think Mario Maker uses that when you put down a question block. Whenever you put down something in the Maker, they do like a weird little synthy voice that says what you put down, and I think in there they say question block too.
Question block.
But it's nice to also just hear it from the horse's mouth,
Yeah. So after they showed the museum, they had like kind of an Amiibo update. We got like Zelda, Ganondorf, Mio, Noah, and then probably the big announcement was just that they are making a Sora Amiibo.
So glad.
Which a lot of people, it would have been weird to just have like the roster incomplete. So I'm glad they did get that sorted out.
Wait, so does that mean that every single Smash character in Smash Ultimate has an Amiibo?
Yeah.
Yes. So
what?
Yep.
What?
Every character, yeah. There's like all whatever 80 something, but yes, they all have Amiibo. Some of them have multiple Amiibo. Some of them don't have the right Amiibo, but they are still represented. Like the Zelda series still has the Wii U version, so like it has Twilight Princess, Link and Zelda, and Ganondorf rather than what they are in Smash Ultimate. But still, yeah, there's an Amiibo. There's a Smash Amiibo for every fighter now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So glad that I can finally just complete the collection after all these years, because I've been collecting Amiibo since they launched, and that was just a saga. And while I sort of slowed down with collecting everything but every Amiibo, I still haven't pre-ordered the Deep Cut Splatoon Amiibos. I'm not going to get the Xenoblade Amiibo. I'll probably get the Zelda Amiibo and the Ganondorf Amiibo. I still was like, okay, I have to finish the Smash collection at the very least. And I also just really like Sora. Sora was my most hyped newcomer in the Fighters Passes, so it was seeing that reveal on my train ride when he came out, like at this point 2021, I think at this point. That was amazing. That was really cool to see. But there was always the idea that we're not sure if he's gonna get an Amiibo or not, and all that kind of stuff. And like I understood, but like I was really hoping they do it, and now we have it, and I'm really glad. Not only can we cap off the collection, I can have an Amiibo of my secondary, so that's really cool.
Nice. All right, so after this, they had announced what I think was kind of the low-key highlight of the Direct, like even if it took us a while to realize it, which is F-Zero 99. Did either of you start playing F-Zero 99? Because I have, and it is incredible.
I have, and I'm really bad at it.
I really must get it going.
It's just a lot of fun. Like, I've liked basically all of the 99 games. Like, I didn't stay too long on Pac-Man 99, but I did play long enough to get a victory. I think I've got a goal to get a victory in every 99 game at some point. But yeah, F-Zero is just a ton of fun, and it seems to have blown up pretty well. And like obviously, there's a lot of discussion on it on Famiboards. I've been seeing a lot of discussion on like Twitter and stuff about it. I know some streamers have been playing it, which is nice because it's an F-Zero game, and people are talking about it and playing it.
Yeah, I think this could be a really good opportunity to get word out about the series and like a very like with a relatively low-key release, and then that could be like really pave the groundwork for, oh yeah, we were also making this other F-Zero game coming out in 2024 or 2025. Now that we got that mindshare back with F-Zero 99, here's this other game for you to try. And I think that could be a really interesting way to like bring back the IP, especially since people have been clamoring for its return since F-Zero, since the early 2000s, but like 20 years.
I have to agree with the sentiment that this is like a test the waters, like see the reception kind of game, which I'm hoping it's been positive enough to give the indicators they're looking for. Like, I also, just the game itself is beautiful. Like, obviously it's going with the SNES F-Zero look to it, but it has that, like, 90s comic book art style, which is really appealing. And it's just, like, very much unlike whatever Nintendo else does, aside from Codename Steam, rest in peace.
R.I.P. Codename Steam.
Now we just need Star Fox 99 so people can test so Nintendo can test the waters for Star Fox, and we can show that will also be a big hit, so they can reconsider bringing Star Fox back as well.
Well, that actually does tie into a question we got from Josh. Josh 5890, who is saying, with Nintendo seemingly having a hit on their hands with F-Zero 99, is there another franchise you'd like to see Nintendo turn into a battle royale? So you're saying Star Fox 99?
I'm saying that as a secondary answer, actually.
Okay.
If you do the all range mode and you can somehow have 100 players, it's gonna be messy, but battle royale games are. But my primary answer is and will always be Breath of the Wild 99, because that's the thing. When PUBG launched, the key selling point of PUBG was that it had a huge map. And it wasn't like this tight corridor multiplayer battle arena shooter. It was like about perseverance and checking out the environments and stuff. And I just think Breath of the Wild's Hyrule is, in a way, perfectly suited for that kind of like battle royale experience. And you have like the Sheikah barrier or something that gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and people can use the battle system and the Sheikah runes to sort of like hide or to take each other out, and and it's gonna lag like crazy, but that's something we can put up with, hopefully.
Oh yeah, that kind of just makes me think that, with most of these 99 games, a lot of them have been like these sort of asynchronous experiences where you like you fight where you're mostly doing your own thing, and the things that you do end up affecting the other plays. F-Zero 99, that's like the first one where like everyone's actually on the same play field, isn't it?
Yeah.
This one's also like a different developer. The other ones were all Akira, and this is NST, right? So that's kind of just like an interesting shift. I mostly bring this up because my idea for a 99 game is more in the vein of the Akira games than specifically F-Zero 99. But I was thinking about it, and like, I think it could be really cool to do like a WarioWare 99, where where you have like 99 players like all playing micro games, and as you progress and based off of your performance, if you do particularly well, you can mess around with like you could mess with other opponents and sort of cause them to sort of cause them chaos, and then it's just you at the end as these micro games slowly get faster and faster and faster, just trying to outlast the other opponents. I think that could be really fun. A Donkey Kong 99, like based off of the arcade game, could also be really fun, where you're slowly progressing through the levels, and you can when you break barrels with the hammer or you jump over obstacles, you can like send them to opponents and do all that kind of stuff to have this like really chaotic kind of experience. I think those could both be really fun. Mario Brothers 99, that could be really good. like themed after the arcade game, and you know, as you defeat enemies and collect coins, you could use those to send other enemies to foes. You could even make like a team-based thing where you could have like 2 players playing against other teams of 2. Dang it! Now I want this, and I know I'm not gonna get it.
Okay, so I've got kind of a boring answer, which by boring I think like it is potentially possible, and it would be The Legend of Zelda. Probably it probably wouldn't be 99, it'd probably be like 40 or something. But it would be the same idea as what Mario 35 was, where basically like it drops you into a dungeon and you just kind of keep cycling through like various dungeons from Zelda 1 until you're the last person standing. And like depending on like how well you do, you can get like power-ups that really help you, or you can spawn more enemies onto the other player's screens. So like that seems like very functional. It would work. It might be a little boring, but I think it would still be fun. And I think Zelda 1, like, getting love is always nice.
Yeah, I did that for a cool, like, 40th anniversary title in, like,
Yeah, exactly. I was
2026.
also thinking about the 40th anniversary, that this would be a cool, like, 2026.
I mean, I don't want to deal with, like, the nightmare of, like, playing a Zelda 1 game and just, like, someone dropping, like, 80 Wizrobes into my level, because if you've played Zelda 1, you know how awful Wizrobes are in that game.
Oh, dear. Oh dear, I know exactly what you
mean. Right? So that has, and like maybe even like you could drop like full bosses just into random chambers. I don't know. It could be chaotic fun, but that seems like something that would be very doable if they wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So after they showed off F-Zero 99, they showed a couple League of Legends games. I don't care about either of them. Do either of you?
Riot Games,
no.
You cannot convince me to care about this IP. You tried by releasing Arcane. You didn't get me. You're doing all these interesting looking spin-offs. You're not gonna get me to care about League of Legends.
I've heard that like the Netflix show and some other stuff is good, but like I just don't care about the IP. You're right. Like I don't play League of Legends. None of these spin-off games interest me.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel too.
But moving on to the things we do want to talk about, WarioWare Move It.
It's gonna be very weird getting used to the new replacement voice for Charles Martinet as Wario. It's like he's not doing a bad job. It's just that Martinet has left some pretty big shoes to fill. But
it was very obviously not Charles. Like when you heard him speak, I was just like, "Oh, that is absolutely not Charles Martinet."
Yeah. But beyond that, I mean, it's a sequel to Smooth Moves. I think Smooth Moves was an excellent WarioWare game. So getting more of that alongside the more button-oriented, like Get It Together, I think has a nice complement of two different styles of WarioWare on the same system, and I think that's always neat. It's like how we had the basic WarioWare as well as Twisted on GBA. Can't wait for Twisted to come to NSL, by the way. They better do that soon. But yeah, I don't have much to add to the conversation that we didn't already mention in our previous direct discussion. Mm-hmm. I'm just really into more WarioWare. I'm really excited to see this coming out so soon after Get It Together, which I know was a more divisive entry. So going back to something that was more popular like Smooth Moves, I think was a good move. So yeah, really excited.
Something I did notice between this and Trombone Champ, both of them use the IR sensor and the Joy-Con. And it's the only time I can think of the IR sensor having been used since 1-2 Switch. I may be wrong about that, but like it seems like we went the entire Switch lifespan with that feature just like flat out being ignored.
I want to say that Labo wants to have a word.
Oh, okay, fair.
Yeah, Labo is phenomenal use of the IR sensor. I have the piano, and the way the piano works with the IR sensor is unbelievably cool. I was just sitting there and playing piano and cool, and thought it was really cool. And then I had a friend come over, and she has no familiarity with the Switch whatsoever. And I showed it to her, and I played it. She was like, "How are you playing a piano on a cardboard?" And I took out the controller. I was like, "This thing," and she was like, "This is magic. The future is here."
Yeah.
Okay, I did forget about Labo, so I apologize for that. But
it's okay.
Don't forget about the massive great seller Rinks Adventure, which uses the IR camera to detect your heart rate. But yeah, other than those things, that's actually all I can think of that's been using Labo beyond 1-2 Switch. And does the 1-2 Switch sequel use IR in any capacity, or is that just the phone games? I haven't played everybody's 1-2 Switch.
I don't think it does. I've actually heard that like 1-2 Switch is decently fun, but no, I haven't played it. But I'm guessing since it uses the phone game, they probably dropped that. All right, but yeah, WarioWare Move It looks like it looks like a WarioWare, and I greatly enjoy WarioWare, so I will be there.
Agreed.
So after that, they had another kind of run of games where it was like Aiden Chronicles 100 Heroes, Eastward Octopia, Wargroove 2, and Dave the Diver. I don't really have too much to say about those other than I know Dave the Diver is kind of like hot on like Twitch and stuff right now.
Yeah, I know it has a lot of good buzz. It also got some really good reviews when it came to PC. To me, it's a little bit better with this trailer, but when I watched, I think they showed it, was it on an indie world, I think? It felt, at least to me, a little overstuffed with a lot of different genres. Now, apparently, because the game's reviewed well, that doesn't seem to actually be a problem, but it is something where I was like, okay, it's probably just not for me. But it's cool that it's found such an enthusiastic audience.
Yeah, I might try it out. We'll see. Wargroove 2. I played Wargroove 1 for a couple hours and thought it was fine, but I didn't really stick with it, so I probably won't be picking up Wargroove 2. And I don't really have anything else to say about any of the other games.
No, same.
Okay. So we got our update for the last pack for the Mario Kart 8 booster pack. And I think the only course they showed was that it was Daisy themed. I can't recall what it was.
Daisy Circuit for Mario Kart Wii, which I know that
yeah.
Yeah, which I know that no, you're fine. Which I know that a lot of people in the Mario Kart thread on Family were sort of speculating that they would put that one in. There was this idea that really early on in the Boost Course Pass's lifespan, there was like this prefix leak where they where in the data they left the prefixes of where each course is coming from in the data, but some of that slightly changed. So some people were thinking, okay, one of the GameCube courses that was there might be replaced with the Wii track, and that Wii track would probably be something like Daisy Circuit. So hey, Daisy Circuit's here. It looks great. I think it's a good choice as one of the last packs, because that is sort of a later game track in Mario Kart Wii. But the other big thing with this is that although the character select screen had only 2 question marks left on it for room for characters, we're getting 4 characters. We don't have to choose between picking Funky Kong or Pauline. We're getting both of them. We're getting Diddy Kong. We're getting Peach-ette. Sure, why not? Those are our last 4 characters.
So yeah, the first 3 were okay, yeah, definitely Diddy Kong, Funky Kong, Pauline, those are all cool. And then, Peach-ette shows up, and it's Nintendo, do you really want to, open that box again? And not just, have Peach-ette, fade back into his obscurity?
I mean, I guess they were hey, we already did the work with Tor. We gave her unique voice clips in Tor, which are actually rather different than how she's portrayed in New Super Mario Bros. U, where that's just reused Peach clips. The Peach-ette clips in Tor are sort of it sounds like Toadette trying to speak like Peach, and it's actually kind of interesting. If you ever look up some Mario Kart Tour, the Tor voice clips, it actually is a relatively novel performance, all things considered. So there's,
okay.
And the other thing that might have been thinking of is hey, look, we want to balance the gender ratio, but maybe we just don't, and we want to balance the weight classes we added, but we don't just want to add 3 Kongs at the end or something like that. I'm so sorry, Dixie Kong. So maybe that was their decision making. Okay, so now we have the exact same amount of male characters and female characters that we've added in the DLC, so it feels more balanced.
Isn't Peach's voice actress the same as Toad's voice actress?
Yes.
Okay, so that's probably an interesting performance.
Yeah, and the same with Toadette's. So yeah, it actually is sort of a distinct kind of voice that sort of is now the in between Toadette and Peach, and I thought that just kind of, it's not a big deal. It's just kind of neat.
Okay, fair enough.
But other than that, yeah, we're finally getting to the end of this almost nearly 2-year journey of releasing new Mario Kart tracks. Mario Kart Tour is finally coming to a close, so that's not going to be getting new content anymore. So it's really interesting to see where, see this finally finish out, and then maybe think about where the future will go from here.
I'm so excited for the Switch 2 to get Mario Kart 8 Ultra Deluxe with all of these tracks and characters included.
There are still some characters left in Tour. You know, you could add Nabbit and Charge and Chuck and the Hammer Brothers. You were saying, Irene?
That is not unthinkable at all.
Mario Kart 8 will never die.
It will never die at all.
It's gonna climb the mountain and outsell Minecraft eventually.
Look, Nintendo made the perfect video game, and now they just need to keep making it. They just need to keep it the same. Keep making it more perfect by adding more characters and more courses.
All right, so before we get into the last game, they did also show off Among Us: The Fungle, which is just a new map for Among Us. Cool, nice. Always good to have more stuff for Among Us. I haven't played it in a while, but the animation was cute.
Yeah.
That's all I really have to say about it.
Yeah. Among Us is a great game that really stresses me out because I'm terrible at lying and don't like being the evil, and I don't like being an imposter. So yeah, great game. Not one I play much, but great game. Glad it's gonna get more content, still gets more support. Not much more to say beyond that.
Yes,
all right, and then the very last announcement of the Direct was a remake, seemingly, of Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. And that was a pretty big mic drop, because obviously, like, a lot of people have wanted this game, and I was a little surprised that they would announce this before Super Mario RPG has even released. It seemed like they would have wanted to have spaced out those announcements a bit, but we're also kind of getting into, like, last call for all Switch releases, so I guess it might make sense to get it in now.
Yeah, honestly, although there were some talks of like, oh, you know, Thousand-Year Door HD being like in the rumor mill for a while, as soon as they announced Super Mario RPG, I kind of just forgot about those rumors, and I was just like, okay, we're getting Super Mario RPG. This is great. Not that TTY HD couldn't exist, but that it just wasn't in my mind. So when we ended up getting the reveal trailer here, I was like, oh, it's here. Oh, we're getting both and relatively soon. I mean, 2024 is a vague date. This could be like June 2024, or it could be November 2024. We don't exactly know. But no, it was a pretty delightful surprise to see that both of these projects exist.
Have both of you played Thousand-Year Door, or have either of you not, I should say?
I have played Thousand-Year Door.
Not just a little bit.
So, like, Thousand-Year Door obviously gets a lot of hype online, and the thing is, it really probably is the best Paper Mario. Like, I'll definitely say that. It's definitely my favorite. Now, obviously, like, discussing Paper Mario online is a bit of a landfield as is, because I still also greatly enjoy the later games, but I am glad that more people will get to play this game, because it's just like a very rich story. It's got fun characters. It's got a fun battle system. Like, it's all around a really good game.
Yeah, and it's nice that we get to have, like, both the modern Paper Mario with Origami King that people really like that I still need to play on the system.
Oh, it's great.
As well as the more, here's the classic one. Here's like a remake sort of deal, because now both audiences get to be served. You get you get both RPG Paper Mario fans and adventure game Mario fans who get to have their treats. You get to have players who like both the this is a world strictly made of paper, and that gets to be part of the design of the world and the gimmicks and the concepts kind of deal. And you also get, we liked it more when it was a storybook or a pop-up book, which this game is definitely embracing the idea of it really does feel like, this looks like a pop-up book. It really does feel like the original art style, still pushing more towards paper, but still, it almost looked like that, but like plussed in a really satisfying way, and I really like how this looks. Watch any comparison between this and the original, and you can definitely tell that, this isn't just like an HD upscale. This is a remake, and it's a really pleasant looking one.
It's like a Link's Awakening style remake, where it's obviously entirely new and like rebuilt from the ground up. Maybe it is running on like the skeleton of the original code. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
maybe like Prime Remastered. Which honestly feels more like, at points can almost look more like a remake.
When you like redo every single asset, it like the line gets very blurry. But I did see online that some people did see like a couple new characters who weren't present in the original, so that there may be more content like added into it. I'm expecting it to probably like script wise just be like a direct translation of the original.
Yeah. I know that there's a couple of very, 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 very minor script changes that honestly don't really change much. Bowser calls someone a lunkhead instead of an airhead. Goombella mentions that she's a junior from the University of Goom instead of saying she's a student from the University of Goom. A fact that isn't a retcon because they literally bring that up like a few conversations later in the original, so I don't know why they moved it around.
Okay, I didn't know that.
You know, sorry, it's just so far there's like three script changes I noticed. They're all extremely minor, but it does sort of indicate that they're at least like touching up the script a little bit, which has interesting implications for how they may handle Vivian, because Vivian in the original, in the Japanese release, as well as many of the localizations, is depicted as a trans character, but obviously that was a not to say the existence of trans people is hot button because that's conservative nonsense, but like they did not choose to localize that for the Nintendo of America, instead trying to keep it as more of like try to play it safe. I don't want to speak with authority on how it was handled in the Japanese version versus other localizations. Other people have done a much better job of covering that, so let me not speak with that. But what I will say is that, you know, since it's clear that they're at least looking at the script again, I'm curious to see what direction they end up taking their localization of Vivian. And if they decide that they want to tackle that, or if they're just not. I hope they at least try to tackle the topic. And you know, because I think that's extremely important. You know, I think it's important to have these characters in media and to show them, because that's reality. You know, trans people exist, queer people exist, and it's important to have that in these productions. But you know, I don't know what to expect for how they'll do Vivian in the North American translation. I just hope they do. I just hope they do her justice.
Yeah, because like the reason why I was like going to this, because I figured my original thought was I hadn't known about any of the script changes, so I was kind of just assuming they're just gonna like copy the script wholesale and just like avoid dealing with the issue. But okay, yeah, it's good to hear that there's actually some indication that they might address that.
Yeah, again, no idea for certain, but there is a chance. So wait and see.
But yeah, in general, I definitely recommend everyone pick up this game who is interested in any way. This is a classic for a reason. It's a very good game. It does have some issues, gameplay wise as well, that kind of get glossed over in kind of the ongoing debate about Paper Mario. But it's still an excellent game.
Yeah, it's a little backtrack heavy at points. You know,
there's like the second chapter of the game. I always hate playing through. Like I've been playing through the Paper Mario games like over the course of the last year. Actually, speaking of, so I started my Paper Mario-thon with Super Mario RPG, and this was before they announced Mario RPG, and then they like announced it, and then they also announced Thousand Year Door like after I had finished playing Thousand Year Door. So I'm just saying, you are welcome, Mario RPG fans. I willed those into existence.
So can you start playing Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga so that we can get the 3DS ported to the Switch or something? I'd appreciate that.
All right, I can look into it.
Nice, thanks.
All right, so we do have a couple questions before we're calling it for the day. So
and I guess I have just one more thought about the TTYD remake. All of these other Mario RPG remakes have done in some way have updated the character designs in some way, right? Obviously, we know that the modern Paper Mario games have had sort of an infamous reputation for focusing a lot on the more standardized designs, and that's either, that's neither here nor there for the point of this conversation right now. But even like Super Mario RPG, which is a very faithful looking remake, really captures the style of the original, is updating Mario's character design, it's updating Peach's character design, updating the standard ones. And that was also something that was a thing with the Mario and Luigi remakes, keeping the original elements the same, but updating the everything else to being more like the standard Mario style. This remake is saying, no, we're not doing that. We're keeping all of the old style characters the same. The Goombas still have their red feet. Boos still look like they're ripped right out of Yoshi's Island. All of those old style designs are kept. Even something as simple as, Peach, who was for some reason wearing her classic dress, her GameCube era dress in the original game, she's still wearing this here. And I find that to be a really interesting way that they're sort of going about this. They're definitely making new art assets. It's not like they're just ripping the sprites from the old, because we see a lot of new poses and things the partners have back sprites now, not just the front facing sprites.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely not, so they're definitely still making the new assets, but I find it really interesting that, especially given the reputation of some of the Mario RPG remakes and arguably Paper Mario's thing with the focus on the more standard designs, that they're going extremely in the opposite direction. Because I wouldn't have been surprised or even would have minded, say, Goombas look like the modern Goombas, or Peach has the more updated dress or stuff like that. But no, they are really just going, yep, all the character designs are from the original. This is the TTYD you know and love, just enhanced. And brought it in, and not just HD upscale enhanced, but just remade enhanced. And I just find that really neat.
Thousand Year Door is one of those games that has enough of a reputation that it's kind of like a sacred cow in the Nintendo community, and if you're going to remake it, you have to be faithful. It's just one of those games with that kind of status.
Yeah, and they're doing a really good job of it. Honestly, the only things that are additions in the visuals in terms of added details, which were it mostly during the Mario's House segment, are things that are just callbacks to other Paper Mario games, like Mario seeing the back of Mario's house now, and also and that being the same sort of blue extra additional stuff what was in the original, or having the picture of all of the partners from the first game on their desk, which is actually a callback to the intro of Super Paper Mario, where that same picture is there alongside a picture of the TTYD partners, and the map in the background being the Paper Mario 1 map now instead of a random map. All of those little things really show that, they know their audience with this. They know exactly what they're aiming for and the direction that they want to go in to make this really appeal to the fans who wanted this remake in the first place. And, I just think that's really neat. It's really interesting to see the direction they're going in here with this remake to be as faithful as possible, but also still feel like they're touching it up. So again, I'm personally really looking forward to it. Still a few questions I have about it, but all in all, it was a really cool way to end the direct.
Okay, and so kind of to wrap things up, we did have a question from Sammy J9. Who asked a multi-part question. First was, what was your favorite part of the direct, or your favorite announcement, and kind of what stood out the most?
I'll go first on this one, because while I did say that TTYD was a great way to end the direct, and I think out of the new announcements, it's my favorite, I still think that the most exciting thing that they showed for me is still Princess Peach Showtime, because that feels like such a fresh new experience, such an interesting take on the Peach character that I can't wait to sort of see more of it. But yeah, otherwise this was a relatively low-key direct. I can't believe we got Mario Direct 2 after we just got Mario Direct 1 back in June. But yeah, lots of fun Mario announcements, but Peach Showtime is the most exciting existing announcement, while Thousand Year Door was sort of the coolest new announcement for me.
This was a very interesting direct for me personally, because it's the first direct in 4 years that doesn't have the shadow of Tears of the Kingdom looming over it, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I was okay. Also because they say that there wouldn't be DLC, so it was okay, this will be a direct where the greatest game ever made is not gonna be there. So I felt simultaneously less excited, but also more excited. Less excited because okay, this isn't a direct where I will nervously anticipate Tears of the Kingdom to be shown again. But also more exciting because now that the Tears of the Kingdom is out, things are more like unknown and things are more keen to surprise. Like now the epic closer, One More Thing, is much more up in the air, because previously there was a 50% chance that the One More Thing would be Tears of the Kingdom, which it was multiple times. But as far as highlight, by far for me was Another Code, definitely. I just can't believe that a footnote in a direct prediction I made back on Era is now manifested into existence and looks absolutely sublime. I am shocked in the most pleasant way possible. And as far as to what stood out the most, I do actually think that all the respect to F-Zero 99, but I also think the Nintendo Museum announcement really stood out as this kind of like super off-kilter, unexpected thing that they didn't show much or do much with it, but just the fact that they're able to like skirt off the road a bit with directs and do like, I personally like it when they do like Mario movie stuff or Pikmin Bloom stuff that throws everyone off the scent a little bit. I think that's pretty fun actually.
Okay, cool. And if as far as my favorite part of the direct, most of this direct was things we already knew about for the most part, so I'm gonna narrow it to like kind of the two big like new things for me, which would be F-Zero 99 and Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. And since I had just played Thousand Year Door like earlier this year, I'm gonna go with F-Zero 99. It's just really cool to see them doing something new with the property and like kind of just out of nowhere bringing in something that like a lot of people are looking at and playing and stuff. That's just really cool to me, and I think it's the most significant thing for me to have come from this direct. The thing that stood out to me the most, the museum was pretty cool, but I would say overall, I definitely had the feeling that this was a like winding down direct as far as the Switch itself goes.
I agree.
There's Princess Peach Showtime is probably the singular big game still coming that was announced. Everything else is either like a remake or a like smaller scale development title, and it does seem like they are holding back for something else that's coming down the road. That really stood out to me.
Mm-hmm. For me, the thing with the Switch 2 is not if we're going to get the Switch 2, it's when. Are we going to get it earlier in 2024? Like, sort of like, even potentially March with like Peach as like a launch title with the 3D Mario coming later down the road, or something like or even like a May, June kind of release, mid-year? Or are they going to save it for the holiday, right?
Yeah, and kind of like part of Sammy J9's question was, what do we think this does mean for the future of the Switch, and is the successor on the horizon, and could this potentially be like the last Switch era direct? To quote Kyle Bosman from a recent episode, the Switch 2 is now more real than it isn't. Like, it's crossed that threshold as far as like
definitely
how we think of it. I don't think this will be the last Switch era direct. I think we'll probably still have a spring one around the times we would normally do. I think I don't see the Switch 2 coming before at least summer. I still personally peg it around holiday. Maybe earlier fall, but around that time. But I think we will still have like one last. We've already raided the cupboard, but here is like just everything else that we're throwing at you before we absolutely have our focus on this system. I think we'll have one more.
Yeah, I could see us having like that being the February direct, and they sort of just lay it out there, and then around May, June, they do the more formal reveal for, oh, here's the Switch 2. It's coming out in November or something, or October or something like that. And then have the September direct sort of also be like, okay, here's like a couple other things that are coming like near launch window, while having the June direct being like, okay, these are coming out like very close to launch, as well as some like cross-gen Switch games, and then just sort of go from there. I could see that happening. I think it really just depends on when they want to do the launch timings. On that note, I have noticed that people have been paying to bring. I know we're bringing things back to TTYD for a moment, but people have been discussing the fact that TTYD Remake has specifically is using the SNES like color buttons as like the labels, and people have been maybe discussing the idea of that. Oh, does this mean anything for like Switch 2 UI? Like, are they going to be switching up how they color the buttons or do anything like that? Because usually when we have Switch game UI, unless it's a remake of something like Super Mario RPG, which originally was on SNES, the button colors they use are just the standard gray, blackish buttons that are on the Joy-Con and the Pro Controller and all that kind of stuff, and that's been very consistent. But, we have this other game that's using these different different UI buttons. So, given that TTYD was a vague 2024 release date, maybe that's a cross-gen game. And given that the TTYD remake seems to be running at 30 FPS right now when the original was 60, it could sort of be one of those things like, hey, on the Switch 1 it's 30 FPS, but on Switch 2 it's gonna be 60 or something like that. I don't know how much stock there is in that, but that could potentially be a clue as to sort of the direction Nintendo was going, sort of the ideas, or it could just mean that they wanted to do fancy SNES style color buttons. I'm not sure, but it's interesting food for thought regardless.
I'm gonna have to slightly disagree and say that I think this was the last more heavy Switch focused direct, because I did get, don't get me wrong, it was good direct that showed off cool things, but it still has this kind of like fizzling out vibe to it, where there's a lot of remakes and a lot of like some few remasters and nothing like Super Mario Wonder tier bang thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that at most we are gonna get a mini in February and at the usual direct slot. And just to briefly update on Thousand Year Door release date and showcase on Princess Peach, and then in June or maybe even April, we're getting a conference for the Switch 2 at the same vein as the Switch presentation, which will be awesome and which will be something to heavily look forward to. But I just got this end of 3DS lifetime, end of Wii lifetime, obviously 10 times better, because the end of Wii's lifetime was this shovelware marathon in a way. And I just got the vibe that, okay, we are really, really on spare fumes right now with these remakes and remasters.
Yeah, if this has,
okay.
Yeah, I think if this is the end of the Switch era, and it's looking like, at the very least, we're getting there. Like, it's very close. I think this is a really nice way to end it. Okay, let's get some fan favorite. Let's get some one more big game with Mario Wonder, a couple smaller projects. Oh, sorry, 2 big games, Mario Wonder and Peach. Let's get some remakes and some fan favorite things that will get people talking. That will likely also be able to be played on your Switch 2, and then we'll be bam. We'll just put all our chips onto a later 2024. Here's a bunch of new stuff for Switch 2, and so there's still momentum, but that momentum gets to be pushed towards that new system while not leaving it as sort of a barren wasteland like a lot of end era consoles for Nintendo usually be.
Yeah, I'm probably thinking that before the fiscal year ends, like in March or whatever, I think that's when they'll do the Switch 2 blowout, kind of like they did with the previous system. But yeah, I don't know. There will be directs regardless, and there will be regular Switch content in those directs, just like they did for the 3DS and stuff moving forward too. Because I don't see them just dropping all Switch support when the Switch 2 comes out. But yeah, we are kind of approaching the end of an era, but also the beginning of a new one. So that's exciting times.
Absolutely.
All right, so that will do it for today's discussion. I'd like to thank my fellow Discussion Club members for their participation today, including those of you who sent us questions. If you're interested in continuing the discussion or sending us questions of your own, please be sure to find this podcast companion thread on Famiboards.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to give it a review or leave us some feedback. We're on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify, or share this episode with someone you think who would enjoy it. It would really help the podcast grow. All right, thanks again, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Take care, folks.